Yes. All right. So we are recording now, as you know. So hello, Dr. Susan. How you doing? We are in the quarantine. We're in quarantine. This is BFREE during quarantine, and we're just catching up with people, talking to them about their experiences, how they're coping, what were they working on, what are they planning on working on. Just it's a lot of different things. So prior to this pandemic and everything that's going on, what were you working on? Like what was your life like?
Oh, in general, well, I was teaching at Kingsborough. I have a private practice where I see people. I work with families, children, adults on their emotional, psychological, and spiritual health. And I was also beginning to expand my media. And I was just about to go back into the studio and do some more taping for a show that it's called Your Voice with Dr. Susan. I had to put a pause on it a few years ago because I experienced three losses of three parents in 1 year.
Oh wow.
And then a family member about a year and a half later went through a major medical problem that I am the caretaker for. And right before the pandemic, I was working on getting him to independent living, and then he got sick before the pandemic. So I've been just really doing lots of stuff, and then the pandemic hit, which made it even more so. So I was not in my house a lot, and I went from always on the run to just being in my house 24/7. So it was an interesting flip.
Got you. So what's really interesting, because you are a doctor, we'll get into that a little bit later. You said you had to do some healthcare stuff with some family members. How important do you think that is for people that are dealing with individuals like that right now? Because you see a lot of people, they can't get certain services, information is not properly being given out and stuff like that. What type of things, I guess, that you experience that you have heard people have been experiencing recently?
Well, people know it's really important to go get help, even if it's not virus related, because if it's elective, then maybe we skip the dentist, right? Or we don't go to certain things. But if it's urgent, if you're concerned because your blood pressure is really high, or you think you're going to have a heart attack, you need to go. And what's great is you don't have to go anywhere. A lot of the health insurers are doing it online, and even if you're not insured, we're not allowing anybody to not be seen. So call 311 and ask somebody. If you don't have insurance and you have no coverage, and you're afraid to go to the doctor, just call 311 and they will be able to hook you up with someone that can do telehealth. So they will see you online or speak to somebody. You don't have to go anywhere, but it's really important to take care of yourself or a loved one if you feel like something's really wrong. If it's minor, then I would say wait. But if it's major and serious, please go call somebody.
Got you. So a question for you. So of course, a lot of us are losing face-to-face time. A lot of social cues are kind of lost with I guess us just talking online. Have people actually do you think people are actually taking advantage of these virtual like therapy sessions and stuff like that?
Most of the people that I was working with prior, I think actually all but one, they moved over. I see people all over the country, and so they can't always come into my office, or they're just really busy. They could be in Brooklyn, but they just, it's commuting. So I had been doing some of my work on the computer anyway, through confidential ways. And the entire view, then it's not, you can't tell that I'm looking at you. So it's not 100%. It's like not ideal, but I think it's better than nothing. And for some people, they like the phone because they don't want to be seen where they are, or they're going out for a walk. I have some people that will go into their car because they have no privacy. So if I'm dealing with one individual, they go in a car and they sit there and we do a session. So it's either on the phone, but most people are really, they are taking advantage of this. And like I said, it's not the same because we don't have that direct eye contact, but it's much better than nothing. I'm very grateful that we have this.
Absolutely. So, so for you, you said you were working on some things. What type of things, I guess, coming out of this would you possibly change about like your show or how you interact with people and stuff like that after the world opens up and we can go outside again?
That's a great question. It's really interesting because when I was doing my show, I did it either in the studio or I did it on location. and did some editing, not too much editing, but some editing. And I the whole you know, I think I've learned that we can do a lot more with a lot less than we thought before, because it's gonna, you know, so many things have changed, especially immediate after, like right as soon as it opens up and we can go back. Think about it. We can't go back to. There's no going back.
Yeah.
We have to incorporate the new. So we have to figure out what that's going to look like. So, you know, it may be that some people are in the studio. You know, it's not, it can't go back to the way it was. So we're just going to go forward. And that's what I'm thinking about. I'm thinking about, like, so are a lot more of my interviews going to be through this as opposed to face-to-face? Maybe doing more live stuff to have people being able to call in. I know I've been thinking a lot about that. And I've actually been doing that. I've been doing a lot of free workshops for people online. I've been doing one for, it's a nonprofit called Mentor Project, or the Mentor Project. And each week I've been doing a Ask Dr. Susan hour, and that's been live, where I usually present something and then people who are on the call can ask me questions. And I just started to now change the format a little bit to be more like my old Your Voice with Dr. Susan show, where now I'm having experts come up and I'm interviewing them and mixing up the expert interview and also having people playing with all different formats for what people need.
So what made you want to have like a show like this? Because I mean, this is a service that you offer. A lot of people, I guess, would probably be scared to speak to someone about anything that's going on with them mentally or whatever the case may be. Like, what made you want to have a show like this and put on a challenge and like just try to put out that good message for people to let them know that, listen, everybody's here for you. You know, just open up, just talk.
Yeah, great. That's also a great question. So I think that this whole idea of psychology or emotional health or mental health in certain one's economic standing or one's culture or one's race, that in certain cultures, even certain genders, right? Like, you know, man up, like boys are taught not to feel their emotion, whereas girls are like, it's kind of okay for them to cry, but like boys got to man up. And we've learned, you know, what that does to people. And it does, because what does man up mean, right? Like, you know, and we need to change that. Like, it's okay to like cry, even if you're a man. And that, in fact, you know, change what is being a man, to cry and be vulnerable, right?
Absolutely.
And so for me, it's always been about wanting to really help people in ways that they might not be open before. And the other thing that I like is to have really open conversations, because my dedication is to break myths and assumptions. And I teach at Kingsborough and an adjunct in psychology there. And, you know, I still am shocked. You know, we were in Brooklyn, New York, right? And it's 2000, well, it was 2019 at the time. And when I heard some of the assumptions or beliefs that people had about different groups, I have to say, I was just like, how could this possibly be that people think this about a group? And it was like simple things. And I'm like, really? Okay, we've got to do something about this. You know, and that's always been the case. And I want to do it even more, and also bring strategies and techniques. Like, if I could share, things that worries me, right? It's hitting more deaths are in lower economic communities, which unfortunately also hits certain racial groups and certain ethnic groups. And here's one of the things that I worry about most. Since loss is happening, actual deaths in certain communities, what I worry about is rituals, right? So one of the things I was thinking of doing, and actually it's related to another show I'm gonna submit to you guys. It's actually well, it's either gonna be called a psychology minute or a mental health minute, where I just do almost like 1 or 2 minute and it's a tip on this. is people aren't, because of the pandemic, people don't have the opportunity to mourn in the same way, right? And what's the ritual when somebody dies? And we know in communities, and they've historically done around, can do what we normally do. And so we need to think about that, because people need to be able to do things in community, because when someone dies in your life, somebody that's important to you, one of the things that we know is so important is for that to be witnessed. You need to be able to say, hey, I've had a loss and a change in my life. And in any community that you look at, part of the ritual is about being acknowledged and being seen. It looks a little different, whether it's a wake, it's a shiva call, it's a ride around the community, it's a party at the cemetery, whatever it is, you know, it's a party at the church, or it's a prayer. People need to experience life has changed. I've had this loss. And now with the pandemic, that's out the window. We can't do that right now. And so I want people to think about what else they can do that's meaningful for them, because it's so important. And it's the same for everybody. And we all mourn differently, even though we have similar rituals. So I think that's something that, you know, I'm thinking about how to help people. In my practice, I did have a couple of people who had direct losses. And we talked about what they can do, and what is the ritual going to look like, and, you know, the drive to the cemetery, and what are they planning for the future. And so, you know, I want people to be thinking about that, and I want to help people with that. So did that make sense? You know?
Absolutely, absolutely. I was going to ask you, like, what do you want to do after this? But it seems like you got everything pretty much figured out. Are you interested in taking any podcasting classes and stuff like that? Because I know that you're doing a lot with TV stuff right now.
Well, actually, I did do. I was part of BRIC's very first podcast class, and I had submitted the very first podcast actually played at BRIC, at Brooklyn Free Speech. So I actually, the Mentor Project, my podcasts are up there from the work I was doing with them, and I'm going to submit it to you guys. Okay. And the other thing that I'm doing for the future is I really want to hear what your needs are. Like, what are the needs in the community? And so that's what I'm open to, and I'm trying to with podcast, a live show. You know, I talked about doing a live call-in. You know, that might be helpful, you know, to really service and figure out what people need. Because as you know, sometimes we have this like great idea, oh, I'm going to do this. And it's like, okay, maybe it's our creative need to do that.
Yeah.
But people really need.
Absolutely, absolutely. Got a bit of a lag, but thank you. I don't want to take up too much of your time. I appreciate you speaking to us. If you or anybody else,
before we go, can I ask you a quick question?
Yeah, sure.
Turn the table for a moment. So, how are you doing? And I would love to hear if you could share what's been your biggest coping mechanisms for all this, and then what's your biggest challenge, if you don't mind me asking you.
Oh, that's perfectly fine. I think for me, I've gotten a little bit better with not having to be around people and not compartmentalizing things that are happening with me. But I appreciate my time to myself. So I think, like, for me, it's probably like maybe meditation or taking a walk or doing exercise and stuff like that. Also, things that are good for me during this time, I think, is creating some level of consistency, because so much is going on in the world and we don't really know what's going on. And I don't know, I just kind of feel like sometimes soon they're going to start having people go out, but I still think we kind of need a level of consistency, because so many of us are used to getting up, going to work, and just doing things on the regular. So by us not having these normal things in our life, it kind of leaves you in a fluster, and you don't really know what's going on. You're staying up late, you're thinking about a whole lot more. So I think for me, it's consistency. Not trying to be on social media so much, not looking at the news so much, because I mean, it's a lot of stuff that we know that's going on that's probably not in the best light. But of course, because I need to know what's going on. But just those times of the night when everybody is asleep, that's my time to myself. Just to kind of like meditate, maybe write down stuff, uh, just talk to friends and maybe just catch up with certain people. So I mean, I try to find positive ways to kind of do things. I know a lot of people were drinking a lot during this time. I'll try to stay away from that because that's kind of looked at as a coping mechanism a lot of times for people, and it's easy for that to spiral. You don't want us to come out of this and then you still doing it. I just try to find different ways of doing things that help me internally, so that outwardly I'm not kind of coming off negatively towards anyone. Sometimes if I just need to be quiet, I just need to be quiet.
That's great. Thank you. And, you know, I actually you reminded me of something. I came up with a strategy to deal with conflict, both within oneself and in relationships. So I'm going to do a little video and share that with everybody because I think it's connected to what you're talking about. And I think and I found that it really helped people that I'm already working with. So I'm going to do a video on it. So great. Great.
All right, so I just want to thank you for coming on. You definitely gave us some good jewels. You talked about a lot of good things. As mentioned before, a lot of people come and help you out on your show, so I assume that they enjoy being around you, and that's a good thing. We appreciate you. Thank you.
Thank you so much. This is my pleasure. It's great to see you, and I look forward to seeing everybody. And you know, if there's anything I can do, please let me know. You know how to get in touch with me. And I look forward to seeing many of you in different ways. And I look forward to really, you know, producing more shows with you and for you. And this is all great. So thank you. And thank you, Shaun. You've done a great job. Thank you.
Hey, I appreciate it. We just want to, you know, like I said, we want to bridge the gap and let people know that people do care. There's a lot of good information and stuff that's out there that a lot of people don't know about or whatnot. Maybe some people might have some questions for you when they come back. Who knows?
That's great. You know, I'm here. So yeah, you know, just give me a ring or just send me an email.
Cool.
Right. All right. Be safe, everybody. And please, if I could just say one thing, just take care of yourself. No matter who you have in your life, you also have to take care of you. And just take a moment and just do a check-in and say, what is it that I need? And then make it happen. Okay. But take care of yourself.
Okay. Thank you.
Thank you. And be safe. Everybody be safe. And love you guys. And hopefully we'll be together soon.
All right. See you soon. Later.